Institute, where I was teaching the students for bank, SSC, and MBA entrance examinations. And myself, I have scored more than 99 percentile in CAT. Okay. So now regarding this session, I believe you know that this is a basic session where we are focused on quantitative and reasoning aptitude, mainly for your company specific placement tests. Okay. So moving forward, starting with the very first topic of quants, which is number system. Now, types of numbers. So I believe you know like what are the types of numbers, right? And this is the number line where we place the numbers. What are positive numbers? Any number which is on the right side of 0 on the number line are positive numbers. Negative numbers which are on the left side of 0 are negative numbers. Counting numbers, basically those natural numbers are called as counting numbers. Okay. Then whole numbers, when we include the set of 0, when we include 0 to the set of natural numbers, the new set becomes whole numbers. Like I'm quickly moving forward with these things. I believe you already know this, so we'll have a quick revision. Okay. Then integers, where we also include negative numbers, 0 and positive numbers, right? So hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. You can continue, sir.
uh, okay, so sorry for that. Now coming to the types of integers, like these 5 things are very important, because when you get the options now, sometimes possible is like you might make some mistakes out here. Like what are positive integers? Now when I ask what are positive integers, generally students they include 0 to the set of positive integers. Okay, but you need to know that positive integers they start from, like 0 is not included here. Okay, so when I ask you what are the set of positive numbers, it is more than 0. It is not equal to 0. But when I ask you non-positive integers, so non-positive means not positive. Okay, so in that case, we will include the set of 0 and we will include the set of negative numbers. So I believe you have an idea of what is the difference between positive integers and what is the difference between positive integers and non-positive integers. Okay. Similarly, negative integers. Negative integers are the integers which are on the left side of 0 on the number line. Okay. And we don't include 0 out here. Now, what is 0? 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay. That is why when I ask you what are non-negative integers, so non-negative means not negative. So we include 0 and positive numbers out here. Okay. Now, coming to an important topic on which generally I have seen a lot of questions coming, and the question is mainly based on, we see mainly one question which comes from prime numbers. So what are prime numbers? The numbers which have exactly 2 factors, namely 1 and the number itself. Okay. So prime numbers have exactly two factors. Example, 2, 3, 5, 7 and all. Now, the next point is very important and I would like you guys to keep it in mind. Any prime number which is greater than 3 can be expressed in the form of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5. Any prime number greater than 3 can be expressed in the form of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5. So like just take any number which is any prime number which is greater than 3. Let's say we take 5. Now what is the form of 5? If I try to write 5, I can write it either in the form of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5, provided it is a prime number. And n out here needs to be an integer. The n which is written here is an integer. Okay. So for 5, I can say that I can write it in the form of 6 into 0 plus 5. 6 into 0 plus 5. Similarly, let's take the next prime number, which is 7. We can write 7 as 6 into 1 plus 1. Next prime number is 11, which we can write as 6 into 1 plus 5. Next prime number is 13, which we can write as 6 into 2 plus 1. So what I'm trying to show out here is any prime number, if it is greater than 3, then you can express it in the form of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5. Okay, even if you take a big prime number, let's say 97, you know 97 is a prime number, we can write it as 6 into 16 plus 1. So 6 into 16 is 96, 96 plus 1 is 97. Is it a prime number? Now, the reverse is not true. Okay, it's not necessary that any number of the form of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5 is a prime number. Okay, like for example 35. If you take 35, it is not a prime number, but we can represent it in the form of 6n plus 5, because 35 can be written as 6 into 5 plus 5. Okay, now so from here you can see that any number of the form 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5 need not be a prime number, but any prime number which is greater than 3 has to be either of 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5. Okay, based on this, we have a small question. Now the question is in front of you. I would like you guys to read it out and try it within 30 seconds. The question is, what is the remainder when any prime number greater than 3 is divided by 6? So I have some answers coming out here. So most of the people, they are saying the answer is C. Great, great, great. I see a lot of responses. I would like everyone to participate in it. Okay, now coming to the question. So as I have already told you that any prime number which is greater than 3 is of the form 6n plus 1 or 6n plus 5. So when it is divided by 6, so either we will get 1 as remainder or we will get 5 as remainder, right? Any issues? Any issues? I believe you can answer. You know the answer now. Is it clear, everyone? Great, great. Okay, so I have a question. How to find whether the number is prime or not? Now, what you can do is, like, they will not ask you this question whether a number is prime or not, and moreover the method is quite difficult, but I'll just explain you. What you can do is, you take any number. Let's say I need to find out, okay, The name is Choklanginam. So what you can do is, let's say I want to check if 45 is a prime number or not. Okay. So one way is we can try to prime factorize it. If I'm able to break it in terms of prime factors, and if I get more than 2 factors, then we can say that it is not a prime number. But if we are trying to prime factorize it and we are unable to do it, so in that case, it is very clear that it will be a prime number. Okay. Okay. So any short method. Now the short method is, see what the process which I told you, that we will try to prime factorize it. Now this works well for small numbers, generally for numbers which are less than, let's say 100, which are 2-digit numbers. But when it comes to a bigger number, there is only one method by which you can check whether a number is prime or not, and that is, let's say I take 191. I need to check whether 191 is prime number or not. So in that case, what we can do is, we will just have to figure out a number, let's say x, whose square is just greater than 191. Okay. Now x, a number, an integer whose square is just greater than 191. Can you tell me an integer which is just great, whose square is just greater than 191? Can you tell me? Okay, so I believe most of you are able to get it. 14, right? 14 square is 196 and it is just greater than 191. So what you need to do is, this is the first step. Guys, I won't be able to write it down as of now. I'll show it to you in the next class. Just try to hear my explanation. Okay, so we have taken that x in this case to be 14. Now, what you need to do is, you need to write down the prime numbers which are less than 14. What are the prime numbers less than 14? Prime numbers less than 14 are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and 13, right? So now what we need to do is, we need to divide 191 by each of these prime numbers. Okay, we need to divide 191 by 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and 13 individually. And if we are able to divide 191 by any of these numbers, so in that case, it is not a prime number. But if you are unable to divide 191 by any of these numbers, if you are unable to divide 191, is 191 divisible by 2? No, it is an odd number, so it is not divisible by 2. Is 191 divisible by 3? Check it out, it is not divisible by 3. Is 191 divisible by, sorry, I took 191. 191 divisible by 5? No, it is not divisible. Is 191 divisible by 7? Is 191 divisible by 7, guys? Is 191 divisible by 7? You can answer me in the chat box. Okay, so it is not divisible by 7. Then what is the next prime number after 7? That is 11. Is 191 divisible by 11? 191 is not divisible by 11, right? So now the last prime number, which is less than 14, is 13. Is 191 divisible by 13? No. So the step is, I believe we can see that 191 is not divisible by any prime number less than 14. And if it is not divisible by any prime number less than 14, then 191 becomes a prime number. Hence, it is a prime number. Is it clear now? Is it clear, everyone? Okay, great. So, like, you will not get an objective question based on this. It is just for your knowledge purpose, since one of the students asked this. Okay, fine. Now, moving forward. So, composite numbers. Now, guys, what are composite numbers? Numbers which have more than 2 factors are called composite numbers, right? Now, a general question which I ask students after I teach them prime numbers and composite numbers is, what is 1? I need to know, is 1 a prime number or a composite number? Please tell me in the chat box whether 1 is a prime number or a composite number. Is 1 a prime number or a composite number? It is neither prime nor composite. Very good, everyone. Very good. I see great responses from everyone. So now, since 1 has only one factor, that is 1 itself, so that 1 is not able to satisfy the definition of prime numbers. 1 is not able to satisfy the definition of composite numbers. So that is the reason why we say that 1 is neither prime nor composite. Okay, clear? Now moving forward, divisibility rules. You must have learned this divisibility rules in your class 8. Like generally we teach it in class 8 in the very last chapter of mathematics, whether a given, like how to find out whether a given number is divisible by certain number. So the basic questions which are asked in the aptitude test of any company belongs to these numbers. Okay, so how to find out whether a number is divisible by 2? It's very easy. I believe everyone knows this. If the last digit is even, if the last digit is 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, then we say that the number is divisible by 2, right? What is the rule for 3? The rule for 3, I believe some of you might have forgotten it. The rule for 3 says, if the last 2 digits of the number are, if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, then we say that the given number is divisible by 3. So for example, you can take any number. Let's say I give you a number 2, 3, 4, 5. I give you a number 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would like you guys to check whether 2, 3, 4, 5 is divisible by 3 or not. Don't go for actual division, go for this rule. No, right? Why no? Because 2, 3, 4, 5, if we add the digits of 2, 3, 4, 5, that comes out to be 14. And since 14 is not divisible by 3, so the given number 2, 3, 4, 5 is not divisible by 3. Okay. Now guys, you can remember it in this way, that the rule for 3 and the rule for 9 is exactly the same. The rule for 3 and the rule for 9 is exactly the same. Okay. Is it clear? Now, the rule for 4. So guys, the rule for 2 is we check the last digit. Okay. The rule for 2 is that we check the last digit. The rule for 4 is we check the last 2 digits. The rule for 8 is nothing but 2 cube. So we check the last 3 digits. So for 2 power 1, 2 power 2, and 2 power 3. For 2, 4, and 8, you can check it in this way. You can remember it in this way. Okay. A given number is divisible by 2. A given number is divisible by 2 power 1 when the last digit is divisible by 2. A given number is divisible by 2 power 2 when the last 2 digits are divisible by 2 power 2. A given number is divisible by 2 power 3 when the last 3 digits of the given number is divisible by 3. Is divisible by 2 power 3. Okay. So this is how you should remember the rules for 2, 4, and 8. Okay. And the rule for 3 and the rule for 9 are exactly the same. Then coming to the rule for 5. Rule for 5 is, I believe you must be knowing this. If the last digit is a 5 or a 0, then the given number is divisible by 5, else it is not divisible. The rule for 10 is the last digit of a number is 0. Okay. So I believe this is how you should remember. Any issues, anyone? Any questions on this? Basically, what I want you guys is to remember it in a pattern. Okay, you can, I will discuss the rule for 6 and 11 also. I want you guys to remember the pattern. The pattern is similar for 2 power 1, 2 power 2, and 2 power 3. 2 power 1 is 2, 2 power 2 is 4, 2 power 3 is 8. Okay, now what is the pattern? The pattern is 2 power 1, check the last digit. 2 power 2, check the last 2 digits. 2 power 3, check the last 3 digits. Okay. Similarly, the pattern for 3 and 9, the rule for 3 and 9 is exactly the same. You will simply check the sum of the digits. Okay. Now coming for 6. So for any number is divisible by 6 when it is divisible by both 2 and 3, because 6 is having a factor of 2 and a factor of 3. Okay. Okay, there's a question, guys. For 9, can we also divide by 3? See, Shivam, any number which is divisible by 9 will by default be divisible by 3. Okay, any number which is divisible by 9 will be divisible by 3. So you need not check it again for 3. Is it clear? Example, I gave you that number 2, 3, 4, 5. Na? So the rule for, you have already seen that the number is not divisible by 3. So will the number be divisible by 9? No, right? Now coming to the rule for 7. A lot of students out here might be thinking that what is the rule for 7? So guys, there are basically 2 rules for the divisibility of 7, but as per my experience, both of them are quite like time consuming if you get a very big number. Okay, if you get a small number, let's say a 3-digit number or a 4-digit number, then that rule you can use it. But again, the time taken by that rule to find out whether a given number is 7 or not, and the time taken by a normal student using that normal simple division to check out whether the remainder is 0 or not is the same. So that is the reason why I would not like to discuss the rule of 7 out here. Okay. Moreover, you will never see a question which is asking you whether a given number is divisible by 7 or not. Okay. You will never get a question. You will never get a question on the rule of 7. Never. Okay. So if you, just in case if you get it, just go for the simple division. If the given number is, when you go for the simple division, if the remainder is 0, then the number is divisible by 7, else it is not divisible. Okay, you will never get. Now we'll discuss the rule for 11. We'll just discuss the rule for 11. Okay, so I believe from 2 to 10, I believe all the numbers are clear, all the divisibility rules are clear, guys. Am I going fast? Am I going fast? Do I need to slow down? Just a little, Shivam. Okay, I'll slow down a little bit. Okay. Actually, the time is a little bit less now. I need to complete 2 topics. So that's the reason I'm going fast. Next, rule of 11. So here comes the rule of 11, guys. The rule says if the difference between sum of digits in even places and the sum of digits in odd places, if this difference is 0 or divisible by 11, then the given number is divisible by 11. And to explain this rule, I have simply shown you an example. I have taken a random number 365167484. Okay. Now you can start from the very left-hand side. The left-hand side, the leftmost number is, leftmost digit is 3. So 3 is in the first position. Then 5 is in the third position. Then after 5, you have 6 in the 5th position. After 6, you have 4 in the 7th position. And the last 4 is in the 9th position. So these digits are in the odd places and the remaining digits are in the even places. So what you need to do, you need to add the digits in the odd places. You need to add the digits in even places separately. Then you need to take the difference of them. And if the difference is equal to 0 or the difference comes out to be a multiple of 11, then the given number is divisible by 11. Is it clear, guys? Now are you able to understand the rule for 11? Please give me a response. Do I need to repeat the rule of 11 once more? Is it clear, everyone? Okay, Vivek. Yeah, I see a few students. So I'll just quickly repeat it. See, the difference between sum of digits in even places. Now, how will you recognize the digits in the even places? So you can start from any side. You can start from the left hand side or you can start from the right hand side. It will not matter out here. Okay. So let's say I start from the very left hand side. So the very first digit, it is in the first position, right? Then 6 is in the second position. 5 is in the third position. 1 is in the fourth position. So similarly, what you need to do is you need to simply take out the digits which are in the odd places. So 3 is in the first place, 5 is in the third place, 6 is in the fifth place. I'm talking about this 6 which is coming after 5, okay, not before 5. So 3, 6, 5, 1. So you can see the digits which are in the odd places, first, third, fifth, seventh, and ninth. Then you can see the digits which are in the even places. We have it in the second, fourth, sixth, and eighth position. You need to add them up. So 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 4 plus 4, that comes out to be 21. Then the sum of digits in the even places, this again comes out to be, sorry, the sum is 22 out there. This comes out to be 22. Now 22 minus 22 is equal to 0. So guys, the difference needs to be 0 or a multiple of 11. So now is it clear, everyone? The ones who were having any issues, now is it clear how to like check out whether a given number is divisible by 11 or not? Okay, great, great. I'm getting good responses. Thank you, guys. So now the rule for 12. The rule for 12, if the given number is divisible by both 3 and 4, you can check out. You just need to check out if a number is divisible by both 3 and 4, then the given number is divisible by 12. Okay. Now you must be thinking that, sir, what if we get a very big number? What if we get, let's say, a number? How will you check if a number is divisible by 24? So you might be thinking that in case of 6, there was only one way of representing 6 in terms of its factors, right? And that came out to be 3 and 2. In case of 12, we can write 2 into 6. We can also write it in the form of 3 into 4. Then 2 into 6 and 3 into 4. But we have not chosen 2 and 6. We have chosen 3 and 4. So the reason for this is coming up in the next slide. Okay. Any other number, please read out this slide. This is very important. Any other number can be written in terms of the numbers whose divisibility is already known. Like 15 can be written as 3 into 5, 18 can be written as 2 into 9, 33 can be written as 3 into 11. Now guys, some of you might be thinking that for 18, why have we chosen only 2 into 9 and why have we not chosen 3 into 6? The reason for that is here in the note given below. What is the note saying? The note is that the number expressed should be co-primes. Now for those who don't know what are co-primes, two numbers, if the highest common factor, HCF is a topic which we are going to read now later. So the highest common factor of two numbers, if it is 1, then we say that the given pair of numbers are Okay, so that is the reason for 18 we have chosen 2 into 9, because 2 and 9 have a highest common factor of 1. And why have we not chosen 3 into 6? Because 3 and 6, the highest common factor between 3 and 6 is 3, but we need the highest common factor to be 1. We need to go for the co-prime pairs. Okay, so similarly for 40, we will not go for 4 into 10. Yes, we know the rule of 4, we know the rule of 10, but we will not go for 4 into 10, because the highest common factor of 4 and 10 is 2, and we need the highest common factor to be 1. Only that pair needs to be chosen. Okay, so that is the reason why for 40 we are going to go for 5 into 8, because the highest common factor of 5 and 8 is 1. So is this, everyone, guys, is this rule clear? Like, now can you figure out? Okay, from Shubham, I have a question. What is the rule of 7, 13 and 17? So Shubham, as I've told you before, that the rule of 7, they will never ask you questions on 7, 13 and 17. Only they are going to ask you the questions based on what I have given out here. Okay, so you need not worry. Okay, from Abhishek, I'm getting a request to repeat it once again. Okay, so Abhishek, if you get a composite number, a big composite number, let's say out here we have 18, okay, or let's say 40. Now, to check whether a given number is 40 or not, how will you decide? So for that deciding factor, what you need to do is, you need to break 40 in terms of it. You need to break 40 as a product of its factors, as a product of its two factors. Okay. Now, if you try to write down, you can write down 40 as a product of its two factors in multiple ways. You can go for 1 into 40. You can go for 2 into 20. You can go for 4 into 10. You can go for 5 into 8. So there are 4 ways of writing 40 as a product of its factors. Okay, as a product of its two factors. 1 into 40, 2 into 20, 4 into 10, and 5 into 8. But from all these 4 ways of expressing 40 as a product of its factors, you can see that there is only 5 into 8 where the highest common factor of this pair is 1. In all the remaining cases, the highest common factor is not 1. And we need to select that pair where the HCF comes out to be 1. So when you are able to choose that pair, in case of 40, the pair comes out to be 5 and 8. So now you need to just check whether the number is divisible by 5 as well as the number is divisible by 8. Now, if the given number is divisible by 5 and the number is divisible by 8, then the entire number is divisible by 40. So now is it clear, Abhishek? Okay, great. Okay, from Shrey, I'm getting a question. What can we do in case of numbers like 23? Shrey, 23 is a prime number. As per my experience, they will never ask you, like, the only rules for prime numbers which you need to remember are 2, 3, 5, and 11. 2, 3, 5, and 11. Even in case of higher aptitude exams like CAT and all, I have never seen questions coming on the rule of 23, 19, or 17. So you need not worry about it. Okay. Yunus, please switch off his camera. Yunus, please switch off your camera. Yunus, please switch off your camera. Okay. Now, we'll do a question on this. So guys, I have 2 questions for you in front of your screen, and I'm going to give you only 40 seconds, 20 seconds for each. Hurry up. Only 40 seconds. I would request everyone to start solving these questions. The first question is, which of these numbers is divisible by 3 into 4? Is my screen visible, everyone? I believe it is visible, no problem. Which of the following numbers is divisible by 3 into 4? The four options are, we have missed out the A here. So 946, 947, 948 and 949. These are the four options. Okay, so most of the students have answered A and C for question number 1. So the ones who have answered question A as the answer for question number 1 are wrong. Because guys, for a number to be divisible by 3 into 4, it needs to be divisible by 3 as well as it needs to be divisible by 4. So if I go for the very first option, 946, and if I check if it is divisible by 3, I will add the digits 9 plus 4 plus 6, 21. Now 21 is divisible by 3, but we also need to check for 4, na? And what is the rule of 4? The rule of 4 says that the last two digits needs to be divisible by 4. Now is 46 divisible by 4? No, 46 is not divisible by 4. So that is the reason why option A cannot be the answer. Option B will never be divisible by 4. So we need not waste our time in applying the rule of 3, because number needs to be divisible by both 3 and 4. And for a number to be divisible by 4, it needs to be even, right? So we get option C as the answer. So any issue with question number 1 explanation, anyone? Any issues? Great. Thanks for your responses. Now coming to question number 2. I believe some of you might be finding it difficult to solve question number 2, but this is very important. You must practice to make yourself capable of solving these questions without pen and paper. Now, the number 567xy is completely divisible by 30. So guys, what is the meaning of completely divisible by 30? It means that the remainder is 0, right? So we need to find out the possible values of x and y out here. So now 30, have I discussed the rule of 30 with you? No, I have not. Then what you need to do? Since 30 is a composite number, so you need to break it as a product of its factors. Now you can go for 1 into 30, you can go for 2 into 15, you can go for 3 into 10, and you can go for 6 into 5. We need to check, we need to go for that pair where the highest common factor is 1. We need to go for that pair which are co-primes to each other. So I believe if you have solved it on your notebook, the pair will come out to be 5 and 6. The pair will come out to be 5 and 6. I'm writing it down for everyone. The best co-prime pair, the co-prime pair will be 5 and 6. Shivam is saying, can't we use 3 and 10? Shivam, you can use 3 and 10, but 10, again for 10, you will have to break it into 2 into 5. Okay? Clear? No problem. 3 into 10 is also fine. No problem. We will not have any difficulty with that. Okay? So you can go for 5 into 6 or you can go for 3 into 10. Okay? So let's say we go for 3 into 10. Now, since we are going for 3 into 10, so the number needs to be divisible by both 3 and the number needs to be divisible by 10. Now, if the number is divisible by 10, then the last digit needs to be divisible by 0. The last digit needs to be divisible by, the last digit needs to be 0, right? So y comes out to be 0. So if y is 0, so guys, we can easily eliminate option D, right? We can eliminate option D because option D is saying that the value of y needs to be 1. Now coming to option ABC, all these
3 options are having 0 at the end. So to find out the value of x, now we need to apply the rule of 3. And what does the rule of 3 says? The rule of 3 says that the sum of digits should be divisible by 3. So we need to go for 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus x plus y. Since y is 0 here and 5 plus 6 plus 7 is 18, so 18 plus x needs to be divisible by 3. Now, what can be the possible values of x here, guys? If I ask everyone, I need an answer. If 18 plus x is divisible by 3, if 18 plus x is divisible by 3, then what can be the possible values of x? So if 18 plus x is divisible by 3, then x can be 0 or x can be a multiple of 3. But since I have used x here, and according to the context of the question, x is a single digit number, so x can be 0 or 3 or 6 or 9. It cannot be more than 9. I agree that when I say x, you can include every natural number. No problem with that. But according to the context of this question, since x has to be a single digit number, then x can be either 0 or 3 or 6 or 9. Now, do you see a 3, 6 or 9 in the options? Do you see the possible values of x as 3, 6 or 9 in the options? You don't see that, right? The only possibility you see in the options is that x is 0, which is there in option number A. And that is the reason why the answer for this question will be option number A. Okay, is it clear? There could have been multiple answers based on the options, but according to the given option, it has to be option number A. Clear? Clear, everyone? Is there anyone who's having any issue with question number 2? Okay, I'm getting some responses. So, Shubham, the number is divisible by 30. You will break 30 as a product of its factor. 30 can be written as 5 into 6. 30 can be written as 3 into 10. We will go for 3 into 10. We can go for 3 into 10, or we can go for 5 into 6. Both are pair of co-primes. No problem with that. Okay. So now we will go for 3 into 10 because that would be slightly easier. Now for a given number to be divisible by 30, it has to be divisible by both 3 and 10. Any number which is divisible by 10 needs to have a 0 at the end. So based on that information, y will come out to be 0. And any number which is divisible by 3 is only possible when the sum of the digits of the given number is divisible by 3. So out here, what are the digits? The digits are 5, 6, 7, x and y. So when you add all these digits, it comes out to be 18 plus x plus y. It comes out to be 18 plus x plus y. Now, since y is 0, so the sum of the digits comes out to be 18 plus x. And what can be x according to the given options? It has to be 0. So that is the reason why for this question, x will be 0 and y will also be 0. And that is the reason why the answer will be option A. So I believe that answers your question. So moving forward. Similarly, guys, we have, I have a few more questions for you, which I'm going to skip as of now. These are similar questions and you will solve these questions later and we will discuss the solution in the next class if needed. Okay.
I have also given the solution out here. Now again, we have a very important concept coming, unit digit concept. Generally, I have seen a lot of questions coming in multiple aptitude tests based on unit digit. So I believe, what is unit digit? The last digit of an expression will always depend on the unit digit of the values. The last digit of any mathematical expression involving numbers will always depend only and only on the last digit of the value. Okay. Yes, yes. You will get the recording of this session and you will also get this file if need. Okay. So don't worry. Now you can see a small example out here. The unit digit of 123 into 456 into 789. So now guys, this is a very cumbersome multiplication, but do we need to find out the entire value? No, we did not find out the entire value. We just need to find out the unit digit of this multiplication. And to go for the unit digit of this multiplication, you just need to select the unit digit of each expression. So what is the unit digit of 123? It is 3. Unit digit of 456, it is 6. Unit digit of 789, it is 9. So what you need to do is just go for 3 into 6 into 9. Now 3 into 6 is 18. 18 into 9 is 162. And again, this out in this 162, 16, the first two digits are not important. We are only focused on the last digit of the expression. So you should go, you will go only for the last digit of the expression. So out here, first you will take the last digits of the given number. 123 you will take 3, 456 you will take 6, 789 you will take 9. Then you will go for multiplication. So out here it is going to be 3 into 6 into 9. Now 3 into 6 into 9 will come out to be 162, in which 16 is not important and 2 will be the unit digit of this entire expression. So is it clear how to find out the unit digit in case of such expressions? Is it clear, guys? Yes, I'm getting a lot of responses. Yeah, you're correct. The answer is 2. Abhishek, whenever you are asked to find out the unit digit of mathematical expressions which involves multiplication of numbers, and if you have big numbers, 3, 4, 5 digit numbers, you need not have to go for the entire multiplication. You just need to pick the unit digit from each of the numbers and you need to do the multiplication. You need to take the unit digit of each of the numbers and then you need to multiply only those unit digits and you will get the answer. Okay. So does that answer your question? Shivam is asking, is it only true for multiplication? Yes, Shivam, it is only true for multiplication. In fact, it also works in addition if you are asked to find out the last digit of certain numbers being added. Okay. So Abhishek, is it clear now? Okay, Shiva Durgesh is asking, sir, how will we know that we should divide the number with 3 and 3 and 3 ratio? So Durgesh, I randomly took a number. I took three digit numbers to explain: 123, 456 and 789. It has nothing to do with division into 3 and 3 ratio. Okay, it has nothing to do with it. Clear? Let's say if you have two numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4, 5, 6, 7. If you are asked to find out the unit digit of 1, 2, 3, 4 into 4, 5, 6, 7. So you simply need to take the last digit of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 4. You need to take the last digit of 4, 5, 6, 7, which is 7. And you just need to multiply 4 into 7, which is 28. Definitely 8 will come in the last digit. We cannot say that 2 will come in the 10th place. We cannot say that. But we can definitely say that 8 will come there in the last digit. Okay. So I believe you got it, Durgesh. Thank you. Now moving forward. So guys, this was an easy question, but now here comes the main part. Okay. Cyclicity. Cyclicity is very important, guys. You need to remember. Now it's very easy to remember, like the cyclicity of the numbers from 1 to 10 is 14421, 14421. You can see the second image, the image on the right hand side, 14421, 14421. I'll explain it to you, but first of all, you need to remember this. Okay, 14421, 14421. You can say that 144 is the square of 12, and that 12 has been written in reverse order in the form of 21. So this is how you can remember. This is how I remembered in my days. Now, what does this cyclicity says you? So guys, it simply says that the last digit of any number repeats after how many powers? It simply says the last digit of any number repeats after how many powers? Like, I'll ask you a basic question. For those finding it difficult, I'll ask you a basic question. If you see that there is a number which is ending at 1, if you see there's a number which is ending at 1, and if you put, let's say, a power 57 on that number, let's say the number is, let's say the number is 1231. Sorry, let's take another number, 45671. Let's say the number is 45671. This is the 5-digit number. And on the power of 45671, let's say I put a power of 98. Okay. So the number is 45671 and the power is 98. And if I ask you, tell me what is the last digit of this number, what will be your answer? What will be your answer? Four, 5, 6, 7, 1 to the power 98. What will be the last digit? Mehak, the answer is wrong. The answer is 1. Very good, Mehak. Okay, we have 2 Mehak out here. Clear? The reason is, as I have told you, when we started the concept of unit digit, what is the note which we read? The note says the last digit of an expression will always depend on the unit digit of the values. Only the unit digit of the values. So when I ask you 4, 5, 6, 1, and I'm asking you to find out the last digit of this number. So we don't have to focus on 4, 5, 6, 7. It has nothing to do with the units place, with the last digit of the expression. Okay, we are only focused on the unit digit of the value. And what is the unit digit of 4, 5, 6, 7, 1? That is 1. And what is 1 power 98? 1 power 98 is 1 itself, right? So the answer is 1, which I believe I got a lot of answers. I got a lot of answers and all of them are correct. Voice is cracking. Is my voice audible, everyone? Is my voice clear? Okay, it is cracking a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay, we'll keep it in mind. Okay. The example is simply what is the last digit of 45671, or let's say 4571 to the power 98. What is the last digit of 4571 to the power 98? We need to find out only the last digit. So the power is 98. Leave the power for now. We in the given number 4571, this 457 has no importance. We are only going to focus on 1. And what is 1 power 90th? That is 1. Okay. So coming to the cyclicity, guys, please check out the numbers which are having a cyclicity of 1. The cyclicity of 1, 5, 6 and 10, basically 0. 1, 5, 6 and 0 is 1. What does that mean? That any number ending in 1, 5, 6 or 0, any number ending in 1, 5, 6 or 0 to the power anything, power anything will remain the same. Like, let's say if I take a very big number, 236 to the power 400, let's say 236 to the power 4 crores or 5 crores. So since 236 is having 6 at the units place and we are only focused on the unit digit, and you know that the cyclicity of 6 is 1. The cyclicity of 6 is 1. So in that case, that 236, the 23 in 236 has no importance. The power which I took, 4 crore, 5 crores or any power you would like to have, plays no importance. The last digit of 236 power anything will be 6. The last digit of, because the cyclicity of 6 is 1. And what does this cyclicity says? It simply says that after how many powers the numbers would repeat. Okay, after how many powers the numbers would repeat. Now, then coming to 4 and 9, you can see, guys, that the cyclicity of 4 and 9 is 2. What does it mean? It simply means that the last digit for the powers of 4, the last digit for the powers of 4 repeats after 2 values. Repeats after 2 values. Like, you can just simply check it out. What is 4 power 1? 4. What is 4 power 2? 16, has a 6 at the end. What is 4 power 3? 64, has a 4 at the end. What is 4 power 4? That is 256, has a 6 at the end. So you can see that in case of 4, either the last digit is coming out to be 4 or the last digit is coming out to be 6. Yes or no? Same is the case with 9. What is 9 power 1? It ends at 9. 9 power 2 is 81, ends at 1. 9 power 3 is 729, ends at 9. 9 power 4 is 81 square. That would be 7 to 81 square would be 6561. So that is ending at 1. So you can see that in case of 9, when the powers are odd, the last digit is 9. But when the powers are even, the last digit is 1. Right? For 9, when the powers are odd, the last digit is 9. But when the powers are even, the last digit is 1. And in case of 4, when the powers of 4 are odd, the last digit, the unit digit comes out to be 4. But when the power of 4 is even, an even number, so the unit digit comes out to be 6. Okay? Clear, everyone? Is the cyclicity of 4 and 9 clear? Is the cyclicity of 4 and 9 clear, everyone? Okay. So we have completed the cyclicity of all the numbers except 2, 3, 7 and 8. And what is the speciality of the numbers ending at 2, 3, 7 and 8? They have a cyclicity of 4. And what does it mean? That for 2, the last digit is going to repeat after every 4 powers. For the numbers ending at 3, the last digit are going to repeat after every 4 powers. For the numbers ending at 7, the last digit are going to repeat after every 4 powers. Example, let's start with 2 power 1. You can just note it down on your notebook along with it 2 power 1 ends at 2. 2 power 4. Sorry. So you can see in the box here, check out on the box, it's written. So you can see the numbers in green, which represents the base. And on the first row, you can see the powers. Okay. So 2 power 1 is 2. 2 power 2 is 4. 2 power 3 is 8. And 2 power 4 is 16. But we have written only 6 here because we are not concerned with the tens digit. We are only concerned with the number with the digit at the units place. So now, so what does it mean? It simply means that the cyclicity of 2 will follow this chain, will follow this sequence 2, 4, 8, 6, 2, 4, 8, 6, 2, 4, 8, 6. I'll repeat again. 2 power 1 is 2, 2 power 2 is 4, 2 power 3, it ends at 8, 2 power 4 ends at 16. So basically it ends at 6. Then we have 2 power 5, which is 32. It ends at 2. Again, you can see that the 2 which came in 2 power 1 is getting repeated here. 2 power 6 is 64. It is ending at 4. 2 power 7 is 128, ending at 8. 2 power 8 is 256, ending at 6. So can you see that the cycle of these powers is getting repeated? Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? That for 2, the value are going to get repeated after every 4 powers. Okay. Same is the case with 3. Same is the case with 7, and same is the case with 8. Okay. So based on this, we have I have a question coming up for you, and I have already shown the solution here. What is the unit digit of 123 to the power 42? You can ignore the solution, try to solve it on your own. I'll give you around 30 to 40 seconds and I'll explain the solution written here. Please be honest, don't look out for the solution. First, try to solve it on your own. What is the unit digit of 123 to the power 42? 123 to the power 42. What is the last digit of 123 to the power 42? I'll give you 30 seconds. So I can see I am getting a lot of responses. I've got 33 responses till now. Except for a few students, everyone is getting the answer as 9. So let's check the solution. Okay, so last digit of 123 power 42 will be equal to the last digit of 3 power 42. In this 123, 1 and 2 will be of no importance. Now, since the last digit will depend on 3 now, and what is the cyclicity of 3? The cyclicity of 3 is 4. Now, for those who don't know how to solve this question, please focus here. Whatever the power is given now, out here, we are going to divide that power by the value of the cyclicity. We are going to divide the power by the value of cyclicity. Since the cyclicity of 3 is 4, so we are going to divide the power by 4 and we are going to take the remainder. We are not concerned with the quotient. Okay,
So what is the remainder when 42 is divided by 4? You can see it on the screen. I have already written it there. The remainder when 42 is divided by 4 is 2, right? So it simply means that the second value in the cyclicity of 3 will be the answer. The second value in the cyclicity of 3 will be the answer. And how will you figure out the second value? You will start with the first power. 3 power 1 is 3. This is the first value in the cyclicity. 3 power 2 is 9. It is the second value in the cyclicity. And since according to our approach, according to the remainder, we need to go for the second value in the cyclicity of 3. So our answer would be 9. Okay. What you can do is you can take the help of this box. You can see that this 3, the first 3 is coming in the first value of the cyclicity. 9 is the second value of the cyclicity. 7 is the third value of the cyclicity, and 1 will you go for the last value of the cyclicity. Now, when I have written a note at the end, choose the nth value in the cycle if the remainder is n, where n is the remainder. So if n is coming out to be 2, so choose the second value in the cycle if the remainder is 2. If the value of n is 3, choose the third value in the cycle if the remainder is 3. But for the last value, you go for the last value of the box. You go for the last value of the box when the remainder is 0. When the remainder is 0. So in case of 3, if the remainder came out to be 3, we will go for the first value. If the remainder came out to be 2, we will go for the second value. If the remainder comes out to be 3, we will go for the third value in the box. And if the remainder comes out to be 0, we will go for the last value of the box. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Tanya, if the number after dividing comes out to be 0, then go for the last value of the cycle. Okay, go for the last value of the cycle. Is it clear? Great. Shivam, 123 power 43 is equal to 7, and 123 power 44 ends at 1. Great, right, it's correct, completely correct. Because 3 power 43 when divided by 4 will give a remainder of 3. Third value in the cyclicity order comes out to be 7. And in case of 44, since the remainder is coming out to be 0, so we'll go for the last value in the cycle. Okay. Great, everyone. So now we are going to start with LCM and HCF. I believe everyone out here has done LCM, least common multiple, and HCF, highest common factor, in their school days. Okay. So I'll quickly brush up the concepts. What is HCF? Highest common factor. What does it mean? It's written on your screen. The greatest number that will exactly divide A, B, and C. The greatest number that will exactly divide A, B, and C is HCF. Okay. And what is LCM? Least common multiple or lowest common multiple. So the least number which is exactly divisible by A, B, and C is LCM. Okay. I believe no one is having any issue here. Moving forward, how will you find out the HCF of big numbers? I'll skip this part. I believe you know this. Similarly, how to find out the LCM of big numbers. So I'm leaving this here. I have shown an example for you to determine LCM of 14, 42, and 21. So you can see this common division method, right? You can see the common division method. We have kept the three numbers 14, 42, and 21, and we are trying to divide the numbers. Once we get the remainder, the last values as 1 or prime numbers, then we go for multiplication of all the numbers. So 7 into 2 into 3 into 1 will be the LCM out here. Okay. And for HCF, now we need to find out the highest common factor of 33, 55, and 22. So the method shown here is the division method. The method shown here is division method. You can also go for the prime factorization method. Okay.
I have not shown the prime factorization method because it is common for both LCM and HCF, and everyone knows that. For LCM, you can go for this division, common division method, and for HCF, when you get three numbers, what you can do is you can take any of those two numbers. Like out here, we have taken 33 and 55. You can see that 55 is divided by 33. We get a remainder of 22. Then the initial divisor now becomes the dividend, and 33 is divided by 22. This cycle is repeated until we get a remainder of 0. When we get a remainder of 0, so the last divisor becomes the highest common factor. The last divisor becomes the highest common factor. So I believe this is something which you already know, so I'm skipping it for now. Okay, the important formula. These 3-4 formulas are what you need to remember, which is because questions on LCM and HCF are generally asked on these formulas. Okay, so the very first formula is LCM of two numbers is equal to product of the two numbers divided by HCF. Basically, product of two numbers is equal to LCM of the two numbers into HCF of the two numbers. Then highest common fraction, it is not HCF, it has to be highest common factor of fractions. Highest common factor of fractions is, in fractions you have a numerator, in a fraction you have a numerator and you have a denominator, right? So when you go for HCF of fractions, you simply need to go for, when I give you fractions, go for HCF of the numerators divided by LCM of the denominators. And in case if you are asked to find out the LCM of the headline in the slide, so in that case you'll go for LCM of the numerators divided by HCF of the denominators. Okay. So guys, you know how to find LCM, right? Please revise that part, and please note down these 3-4 formulas: product of two numbers, LCM into HCF, how to find out the highest common factor of fractions, how to find out the LCM of fractions. Okay, and then based on this, I have a question for you on the screen. Please try to solve this question. You'll get only 30 seconds. Guys, I'm getting response from the team that the voice is clear. So I believe you might be having an internet issue on your side, because my team is able to hear me properly. I'm getting responses from them. Okay. Whenever I see your message regarding voice cracking, I'm asking a question to my team on the other side, and they're saying that it is okay. So please, I believe there's some issue with your internet connection. The question says that the HCF of two numbers is 11 and the LCM is 7700. If one of the numbers is 275, then what is the other number? Okay, so you can clearly check out here that they have given you the highest common factor, they have given you the lowest common multiple, and they have given you one of the numbers. So what is the formula that you need to use here? The formula is going to be the one which is here on your screen in this box. Okay, and so we'll come to the solution later on. Please try to solve this second question. Please try to solve this second question, then we will discuss the solution of both the questions together. Okay, I have written it down in the PPT. Please try to solve this second question. The highest common factor of 9 by 10, 12 by 25, 18 by 35, and 21 by 40. I have given 4 fractions, and you are supposed to find out their highest common factor. The formula which you are going to use is here on your screen now. I'm getting good responses. I'm getting correct answers. Very good. Vishnu, Abhishek, Shivam, Tanya, Manaspi, Dipti, very good. Yatin, correct. Saurav, Abhishek, Noor. Okay, Ashutosh, you need to see the question. Here's the question, Ashutosh. Correct, correct. Everyone who has answer, your answers are correct. Okay, so now coming to the solution for both the questions. Here's the solution, guys. For the first question, we know HCF into LCM is equal to product of two numbers. HCF into LCM is equal to, right? So we put value of HCF, value of LCM. We put one of the numbers as 275 and the other number as X, and we got the value of X to be 308. We got the value of X to be 308. So for question number 1, the answer was option A, which everyone got correct. Congratulations. Coming to question number 2, most of the students, they got the answer as option A, right? And here's the solution. Highest common factor of fractions, which I have already shown you in the formula, is HCF of numerators by LCM of denominators. LCM of denominators. So in the given fraction, when you go for HCF of the numerators, that comes out to be 3. And when you go for LCM of the denominators, that comes out to be 1400. So the highest common factor of the fraction becomes 3 by 14.